Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. This is your host SK. In each episode, we focus on vital elements of our local environments. Supporting local businesses is key to sustaining the unique charm and diversity of our neighborhoods. Our central focus today is on exploring the nuances of brand building in the Canadian context. Understanding the significant impact of women in branding and marketing, and unraveling the art of authentic and personalized storytelling in the evolving digital marketing arena. Our guest today is Bhumika Kaushik, a marketing communications and advertising professional with a rich background in creative communications. Bhumika Kaushik has worked with renowned agencies like Publicis and WPP, managing communications for notable brands such as Shadi.com, Reliance Fresh, Tanishq, and Netflix. A graduate of Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communications, Bhumika's journey in creative copywriting and storytelling has led her to drive impactful communication across multiple industries. As the founder of Tribe and Tales, a branded content agency, Bhumika specializes in helping brands find their unique voice through powerful branded content. Join us as we dive into a comprehensive discussion on the different aspects of brand building and storytelling and the influential role of women in this field. Good morning, Bhumika, and welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Mr. Udin. Thank you so much for having me over. I'm quite excited first to have a conversation with you and to share my inputs.
Yeah, we are also very thrilled to welcome you to our podcast today. You are a distinguished career in marketing communications
Right.
and advertising, enriched by a deep-rooted, passion for creative communication, truly stands out. This expertise of yours is not just a profession; it's a craft that shapes narratives and builds brands' identities. Let's dive into our first topic and explore the insights and experiences you bring to this dynamic field. Now, exploring the field of brand building, the Canadian market, which is diverse and distinctive, offers a rich tapestry of brand narratives. Considering the unique aspect of Canadian market, how does brand building in Canada differ from other global markets? And can you provide examples of successful brand strategies that have been particularly impactful in Canada?
Mhm. So, Mr. Udin, I am a recent immigrant to Canada, and I think that was a very unique opportunity for me to observe the Canadian market from a very fresh set of eyes. And what I saw in the way the brands are built in Canada, I think three things really stood out. One is the authenticity with which brands communicate and build themselves. The second aspect of this is the community aspect, which they don't leave out. And then, of course, in their communication and in all their branding, there's a spirit of adventure, which resonates very well with Canadians. So I think these iconic brands like Tim Hortons, like Lululemon, Hudson's Bay, they're all kind of bringing together these three, coupled with, a national pride in their culture. And if I were to further expand these examples, I think if you look at Lululemon's marketing, I think they're doing very well with influencer marketing. They're picking, fitness influencers all over the country, and they're equipping them with their gear, which, kind of tells people that Lululemon can be a part of their everyday lives, right? And if you take the example of Canada Goose, in fact, I think it really couples that sense of pride with, that made in Canada aspect. Of course, there's craftsmanship, but they did not let go of that narrative that it's made in Canada. And I think a very interesting example is also Tim Hortons. I think the first time that I stepped into a Tim Hortons, I was like, what is the buzz about? Like, why are people so crazy over Tim Hortons? But over the months of observing and realizing, I feel that Tim Hortons is more than a coffee shop. It's more of a Canadian way of life. And I think that's what brands are doing right in Canada. Like, they're blending their national pride with their sense of community, and that's how they're presenting themselves, and that I feel leads to their success. On a more global scale, I feel brands are more about technological innovation and universal themes, but I think Canada does a very good job in retaining its cultural pride. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, as you rightly said, like when you talk about Tim
Yeah.
Hortons,
Yeah.
I'm deeply connected with the brand,
Mm-hmm.
the day I landed in Canada in
Yeah.
October 2016.
Yeah.
Since that date, I cannot live without the Tim Hortons coffee,
Neither can I now.
yeah, so every Canadian loves
Yes.
that brand,
Yes.
and it was, they were very successful in connecting with their consumers
Absolutely.
on a
Yeah.
different level.
Yeah.
What specific factors should brand consider when tailoring their strategies to the Canadian market?
I feel a huge factor to be considered is that Canada has a very multiculturally diverse market, given that there's an influx of immigrants coming, every year. So, if you as a brand have to grow in Canada, I feel you have to be constantly adapting, changing your approach to cater to each and every segment. So, I think these brands like Hudson's Bay, Lululemon, Tim Hortons, I think they continue to do it beautifully, and they continue to do it in a manner that with every province, there's a little bit of change in the strategy, but the overall theme remains the same. So I think, yeah, you have to keep in mind the market, the multicultural market that's there.
Bhumika, your insights into the Canadian brand building landscape paints a vivid picture of its unique challenges and opportunities, guiding brands towards more impactful strategies. Now, shifting our focus to the distinctive approach of women and the implications for the industry, from your perspective, how do women in leadership roles influence brand strategy, and what specific challenges or advantages do they face in the branding and marketing industry?
My favorite question so far. So I think women, with their natural ability to empathize with this entire multicultural narrative that we're talking about, and with their ability of utilizing their emotional intelligence, I think they can bring that authentic storytelling factor a little better than the men that are there in the industry. The challenges, of course, remain a little same that is there for other industries, overcoming gender stereotypes and breaking free from things that hold women back in any workplace. Those remain, but I feel that women are really approaching, and they're coming strongly forward. So but I think their ability to connect with audiences is what makes them stand out.
Right. Can you highlight a case where a woman led branding initiative significantly impacted a brand's success?
What I can think of the top of my mind is I think the recent case of the movie Barbie's marketing. I think like although it's a very iconic pop culture icon, the Barbie doll itself, but I think it's a very good example of branded content. When they made the movie, it wasn't doing, the product Barbie itself wasn't doing very well in the market because of more digital games and forms of entertainment coming up. So they felt the need to bring a very fresh perspective to the whole story of Barbie. So I think the director Greta Gerwig, I think she did a very good job in bringing Barbie's story as it was unseen before. So I think that's a very good example, according to me, that how women or female led projects can change the entire narrative. Because look what Barbie's marketing did for the brand. Like they if, not just like the shares soared above, the movie did very well, but they reclaimed their spot in the market. So I feel like, you need women in the branding and marketing space to work these kind of magic.
Bhumika, can you share with our audience, any challenges that you have faced as a woman entrepreneur?
Mhm. Well, the challenges were many, and they still continue to be. But I think part of the reason why I chose to become an entrepreneur was also the hurdles that I faced during my job days. I still remember when I first announced my marriage at my last workplace where I was working. It wasn't a very well received news because I was kind of the star employee, but then suddenly projects being taken away. Why? Because I'm choosing to move on to a bigger, better role in my life. So I think that was the start of like that kind of sparked a revolution inside me that no, I want to succeed and I want to succeed at my own terms, not thinking about whether I've got like, the shoes of a wife or a daughter-in-law or a daughter to fill in. And at the same time, I can balance my work with it. So I think that challenge did come. It does like happen on your day-to-day life, that procurement of clients and contracts being taken away, and of course like being a immigrant kind of adds like a layer to that challenge. But so far I've been grateful that I worked with some great clients. But yes, these were the challenges that I faced initially.
Thank you so much for sharing that with our audience.
Yeah.
Bhumika, your insights have vividly highlighted the critical role of women in shaping the future of branding alongside the unique challenges
Yeah.
and opportunities they encounter in this dynamic field. Now, exploring the evolving role of authentic storytelling in the digital marketing world, which has now become a cornerstone of our successful brand communication. Why is authentic storytelling is crucial in today's digital marketing landscape, and how has it changed the way brands approach traditional content marketing?
SK, the digital landscape is so vast, and I feel that the consumers are spoilt for choice with new brands coming each and every day. But the more vast that this space gets, I feel that brands are taking a very functional approach to marketing on these digital platforms. So, in times where authentic storytelling should be the foundation of their marketing and branding, it's kind of taken a backseat, which is very sad to see, because that's the reason why brands fall out as soon as they start. So I think authentic storytelling is very important, because your audience is craving and it's desiring a natural connection to your brand, and they want their stories to be heard. They want to experience real life instances, and they want to see the real side of the brand. That's why I feel, and in my endeavors and in the way I craft brand narratives for my clients, I try to take the authentic storytelling approach, because that will always be relevant to any audience anywhere in the world.
Okay. Could you share an example of a brand that has effectively used authentic storytelling to enhance its digital marketing efforts?
My personal favorite brand, which I've been reading about and following for decades, I think it's Dove. The way they have positioned their real beauty campaign, they are telling stories about real women, authentic women, and I think that's what makes them so relevant even in today's time. Like there are a lot of local brands coming, but Dove reclaims its spot. So they're challenging gender stereotypes, and they're asking women to let go of the idea of perfection and telling their stories. So I think that's a beautiful way of using authentic storytelling in digital era.
Right. Bhumika, your detailed exploration of authentic storytelling in digital marketing has been truly illuminating, offering a deeper appreciation of how it's changing the face of brand engagement.
Right.
Now, the art of crafting personalized narratives in the digital sphere is a key strategy for brands aiming to enhance audience engagement.
Right.
How can brands leverage digital platforms to craft personalized stories and deepen their connection with the audiences?
That's a very good question, actually. So these digital platforms, I think they are moving beyond personalized storytelling, and they're actually forming narrative ecosystems these days. Like using the power of AI generative tools, one can not only just understand the consumer psychographics in a better manner, but they're also helping you to create content which is aligned with the audience, and it deeply resonates with them. So in that sense, I feel, and also a good part about these platforms is that the storytelling that you do, it can evolve with the engagement that you get from the audience, in return of your content. So it's like it's real time storytelling with this whole narrative. And I feel it's a great way for brands to tap into the consumers minds, create content that resonates, and in turn build a very very strong brand.
Right. What are some common pitfalls in digital storytelling,
Mhm.
and how can brands avoid them?
I think the pitfalls that brands usually fall for is there's a concept called an echo chamber, which means that brands continuously keep catering to one kind of like-minded audience. They don't take the risk to diversify their audience. So I think that can be a very common pitfall that brands need to be very careful of. And at the same time, because there are multiple channels these days, like you're not limited to one digital channel, so your story or your narrative can get broken across these channels. So I think brands need to be very aware that they need to create this narrative or story by keeping the larger picture in mind and keeping consistency across and catering to more diverse audiences, which is especially true in the case of Canadian market, because we've already spoken about the diverse nature of the audience.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Bhumika, for sharing these thoughts. The depth of your expertise in personalized digital storytelling has offered valuable guidance on its effective implementation and the pitfalls to avoid. Now, cultural and marketing dynamics associate to reflect the evolving preferences and values of diverse consumer bases. What role do cultural and market dynamics play in shaping effective brand strategies, particularly in the Canadian context?
I think it's beautiful the way Canadian market is placed. We've already spoken about the multicultural aspect. So I think it's playing such a huge role in the way brands tell their story. And it's I think it kind of demands that you include the entire cultural aspect into your branding. And it changes from provinces to cities, and the same franchisee, if you look of any maybe restaurant or maybe like a clothing brand, they tend to change to adapt to this audience. They tend to change their marketing and branding a little bit depending upon the city or the location that they're in. So I think it's imperative for Canadian brands to be very adaptive and flexible in their approach.
Bhumika, your analysis of the exchange between culture and market dynamics provides a comprehensive view of their importance in shaping brand strategies. Now, new trends are constantly surfacing,
Right.
promising to influence the future direction of brand strategies and reshape how businesses engage with their consumers.
Right.
As the branding landscape continues to evolve, what emerging trends do you foresee becoming more prominent in the near future, and how should brands prepare to adapt to these trends?
I think the most imminent is the use of artificial intelligence, AI. It's happening in every aspect. So I think if, as a brand, you're not jumping the bandwagon on I think you will tend to lose out on it. So I think the advice or the general guidance for brands would be to invest in technology, invest in upcoming AI trends. And then of course you have to keep the technology factor in balance with your storytelling, because storytelling is something that's never going out of style. Nothing can replace that, right? We don't want our stories to become functional. It will still be a story, right? So it has to be a balance of both. And especially in the Canadian context, it has to keep in mind the national culture and the national values. Also all these three have to be balanced for brands to really make their mark in the landscape.
Okay. What strategies can brands employ to stay ahead of these trends and while remaining true to their core values?
I think just keep this triangle strong. Keep your narratives very, very strong. Use authentic storytelling. Try to bring people and your audiences into the limelight, because they want to hear real stories. They want to relate. And at the same time, keep adapting to the technology trends that are upcoming. So I think if you're following these three and there's a natural style of yours that you're not letting go, I think we should be good.
Okay. As we wrap up this conversation, Bhumika, can you share your key piece of advice to women entrepreneurs, especially like immigrant women entrepreneurs who are just starting out?
So, to all the women entrepreneurs and especially immigrant women entrepreneurs out there, I know that the market and the challenges of changing your country can be very daunting. But I think the single biggest advice would be to not give up. Be patient with the changing landscape, but like, continuously keep adapting, because that's something that I failed to do when I initially came here. But the faster I adapted, the faster I felt that I was able to navigate my way through it. So, all the very best. And I think the Canadian market is very dynamic. It's a learning hub. So keep innovating and keep learning. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for sharing these thoughts with our audience on, especially for with women entrepreneurs. Bhumika, your perspective on brand building, the power of storytelling, and the unique role of women in shaping the business landscape have been incredibly, enlightening. Thank you, Bhumika, for sharing your valuable expertise and experiences with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me over. And this was very enriching for me also. And I think this really reinstills my faith in the Canadian market and the brand building process. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A heartfelt thank you to Bhumika Kaushik for joining us today and sharing her invaluable insights into the world of brand building, the importance of authentic storytelling, and the influential role of women in business. Today's discussion reminds us that effective branding is not just about visibility, it's about connecting with audiences on a deeper, more personal level. We also extend our gratitude to our partners, exclusive banking partner RBC, exclusive shipping partner UPS, and our exclusive accounting software partner Zero. To our listeners, we encourage you to subscribe to Canadian SME Small Business Magazine for more enlightening discussions. Visit canadiansme.ca for more information. Until next time, keep supporting local businesses and embracing the stories they tell.